So, ladies and gentlemen, you are officially welcome to Educators Retreat 1.0, the maiden edition of the program. So, reflect, regain, and accelerate. And on that note, it's my honor and pleasure to bring to the mic the founder and the chief vision officer of eSchool Now and the visionary founder of the eTeacher Network, Mr. Joshua Ogbonia. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Mr. Joshua.
Thank you so much, Mr. T, for that awesome introduction. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
Thank you too.
And for everyone that is currently in the room, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you because of what we get to share tonight. And what we'll basically be doing today is we'll be talking about, we already had a session in the morning of the Clubhouse. And what we'll be doing tonight is to really dissect some very important topics about education. And why is this important? I want to give a little background before the speakers will join us in a bit. But I want to give a little background before I yield the mic to the speakers. You need to understand the reason why we are doing things like this. Why do we have programs like this? I've not said this before. I've not given this background of myself before, but I want to give you a little picture so that you understand. Education is so important, and I need you to understand that it goes beyond the classroom, right? When we talk about education, we are not just talking about the classroom. But then I need you to also understand that what happens within the classroom is so powerful to shape what happens outside the classroom. And when I'm talking about the classroom, I'm using the four walls of the school. I'm using the classroom to put in context of the four walls of the school. All right. Growing up, it's become a major pattern for everyone. It's a norm to go to school. Everyone has to go to school, right? And you wake up in the you put to bed. The next thing you find out is they say he has to go to kindergarten, or is it playgroup, or is it correct? Which one is it again? From I think daycare to then you have playgroup, which is still the same as kindergarten, and then nursery and all that stuff. And these are series of years, series of hours that are spent within the educational system. I need you to understand why we are doing this. And then just right after the primary education, the students in question now moves into the secondary education. The secondary education where they get to spend years again. They get to spend, say, 5 years, 6 years. I think that's the list in Nigeria. If you are joining us from Nigeria, if you're joining us from other parts of the world, please also let us know in the chat session so that we can use a similar persona for yours when we're talking about related outcomes. But then you spend 6 years in the secondary school, and then that certain individual comes out to the university, and after the university, and then the real world, in quotes, the real world, right? And this is so many number of years that are spent with this as educators with the students. So it is important for you to understand that this so many number of years spent with this student it accounts for their life. Like one of the speakers, Mrs. Anita, doing our session earlier in the morning on Clubhouse, she said that when you see a child behaving in a certain way, understand that what that child is doing is simply a reflection, right? The child is simply living the reflection of whatever it is. That child, the attitude that the child portrays is simply a reflection of where that child is coming from, right? Is a reflection, is a mirror of where that particular child is coming from. So let me bring it up to what you are today, right? So I have so many people in this room right now. Each and every one of you are a reflection of what the seeds that have been sown inside of you from the point of growth of birth to the point of growth, right? And this seed is more sown within the formal educational sector. So it's important you understand why we are doing this. All right. This seed is sown mostly within that sector. There is so much peer influence. There is so much informal and formal learning within that space. And it accounts for what we call our young adults today. All right. So it's important for us to know all these things. This is the reason why we have said, although that the government, of course, we're not going to wait around for the government. They probably don't pay the requisite attention to education. Doesn't mean that it is less important. This is more important than anything you can think of. All right. I myself am playing in the educational space as someone that is fully passionate about education. In fact, I've always loved teaching. I've always loved teaching. I teach very well. I'm a natural teacher, but I didn't like the idea of teaching in the classroom. Although I've taught in the classroom, I've been in different sectors or different areas of the school. So I've been in the daycare. Funny enough, I've been in the daycare. I've been in the primary section. I've also been in the administrative section, and right now I play more as a consultant. And I've been in all these levels of it, but I never wanted to actively, be there all the time that way. Until I had to realize it hit me that this is actually because I have a vision outside education. I have a vision, but I had to realize that the vision that I had outside education could not be possible if the vision of education wasn't fulfilled. I don't know if you got me. The vision I had outside education could not be possible if the vision of education wasn't fulfilled. And that is the simple truth. All right. If I spend so much on my vision, I spend so much time on a so-called vision. For example, I love agriculture. I studied agriculture, and I love what comes out of it. Nature, it fascinates me, and this is something that I should be giving all my time. But then, education comes in. It is coming from a place of passion, because of the same thing I just told you. Our communities are detolerated. Our nations are detolerated. We have leaders that are bad. We have leaders that have bad character. All right, leaders that have very bad characters, esteem issues, a whole lot of issues and problems. And this is as a result of what was inculcated in them when they were in this formal educational sector. So you are, as a teacher, as an educator, and I've explained this before, that education goes beyond what you call what you have in the school. All right. So if for example, I have people that are within my circle of influence, I don't have to be in the classroom to be an educator. So I'm saying this so that you that doesn't teach in the school doesn't feel out of place being here. This is the right place to be, right? I don't feel out of place, right? Once I have a few people that are within my circle of influence, that these people are learning from me, that makes me an educator. Now, I can be educating good things and I can be educating bad things. That is why it's important for you to understand the kind of influence you have when you take those decisions and you say those words, and you have people that are looking up to you. All right. So what we are trying to do using programs like this, Educators Retreat, is to really empower you, right? Really empower you and get you as an educator to understand the power that you carry, and show you how best you can utilize it. Because until we have strategized, we have critically strategized these ways, we will not get the required goals we want in our communities. So at the end of the day, we'll end up building wealth all just for someone that we would have shown a better path, trained well, or just for that person who has probably joined the cult or something, or joined the bad gang to now come and wait on the road and then kill us and take over whatever world that was spent so many years building, or burn down the properties or companies. These are people that are doing these things. These people had opportunity when they were small, when you could call them, hey, Emeka, get out of here, right? Everyone had that opportunity. Everyone was once a kid, so they had an opportunity to be shaped into what they could be. So these guys were shaped into what they are today. So we're trying to make sure that we tackle the root issue. We can talk about entrepreneurship from now to tomorrow. If we don't fit it into our educational system, it's going nowhere. We'll keep trying, we'll keep amending, and we'll have people that have the wrongest mindset into entrepreneurship jumping into entrepreneurship because they have the wrong mindset about it. Right? So this is a fundamental issue. Education is a fundamental issue, and this is why we are here. This is the reason for these sessions that we are having. All right, and already, like I said, we've had a series of sessions in the morning. We've had the session emotional mental balance for educators, right? And we had this session on Clubhouse. So if you missed that session, I would implore you to please get on the chat session, and or we'll tell you before the end of the event. We'll tell you how you can still be a part of that session that has gone, because it was very valuable. All right, but tonight we're going to be having two different topics. Now, Okeyinfu will be joining us all the way from Lagos, and she will be talking to us on, first, who is the customer and what does success look like. She'll be talking to us about who is the customer and what does success look like, helping us understand the dots between these two variables. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, right now it is my pleasure to bring up on stage for this session, joining us all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, Mrs. Okeyinfu Ajayi.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Can somebody just confirm that they can hear me? Just to be sure, if I can just have a thumbs up, just so that I know that I'm audible. Okay, great. Thank you so much. My name is Okeyinfu Ajayi. Thank you so much, Joshua, for that really incredible introduction. I enjoyed listening to it. So we're going to be talking today about who's your customer and what is success. What does success mean to you? So it's like a 2-in-1 topic, but as an educator, I'm going to integrate both, right? Because the reality is you're successful when you can identify who your customers are. You're successful when, hi Sarah, you're successful when you also can meet the goals of your school. So it would have been really great for us to have started off with Elaine's session, but I mean, I know that she would come in here, and Elaine is an amazing person, and you do want to be in her session. So I'm just going to go right off and just ask a few questions at the start of the session. And if you could utilize the chat box, I think that would be fabulous. So please utilize the chat box and just let us know, let me know, let all of us know, let us share from your wealth of knowledge as well, right? Who is your customer? How do you define a customer? What is it what are those things that you're looking for in a customer? So I would really love to see your comments in the chat box. I'm going to be searching, right? Because at the end of the day, right, this session is not for me, it's for you. So if I'm unable to answer your questions, if I'm unable to meet you where you need, then I think it's a useless session, right? So let's get going. Let me see those comments popping in, saying who your customers are. And, just let's define it. Let's even define that term. Who is your customer? Yes, I do have slides that I'm going to share and I'll present in a minute, but it's great to just, get your views. Thanks so much, Sarah, for that. Sarah says that a customer is anyone who can pay for her service. I love it. I love how she's turned it to herself, right? So it's not about who can pay for Miss KK's service or Joshua or Emmanuel. No, it's about me, Sarah. That person who can pay for my service is my customer. And I think that's phenomenal. Is there anybody else who's going to share with us who you think a customer is? Now, if you're wondering where the chat box is, if you look on your screen, right, wherever you are right there, if you look on your screen and you look towards the top, the bottom right corner, there's a speech bubble. That speech bubble is where you type in. On my laptop, it's blue. So I don't know what it looks like on your phone or on your laptop. Well, that's a laptop I'm saying. I'm not sure where it is on your phone, but just look for the speech bubble and let's type in what our views about a customer is. And let me tell you why you need to know your customer. You need to know your customer so that you can find them, right? It's one thing to say, I have customers, but it's another thing to actually have customers, right? So that's why this session is so important. And I see a lot of us here. Some of us are educators. Some of us are school leaders, school owners. Some of us are consultants, right? Some of us are even people who are thinking about starting a business. So it's really important that you understand who your customer is, because you're not going to be selling to yourself, right? you're selling to somebody. And so how do you identify that person that you're selling to? I'm just gonna excuse me. Yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen. So that's what we're gonna be looking at. Today we're gonna be looking at, understanding the needs of your customer and understanding the success metrics for your school, for your education enterprise, for your business in general. One thing I tell people is, if you can run a business, you can run a business. If you can run a school and understand the fact that a school is a business, then you can run a business, right? So it's you shouldn't say I have a school, or I have a lesson, I have an education enterprise. It's not a business, it is a business. And the same rules that apply in business would apply, regardless of whether or not it is a school or it is somebody who is selling fish in the market. It really doesn't matter, right? Like Sarah said, to be honest, your customer is that person who can pay for your services, right? So if you have somebody who buys from you or uses your services and they're not paying, does that mean that person is not your customer? Is that what it means? Right? The reality is, yes, that person truly is not your customer. That person potentially should be your customer, but right now, right there, they're not. So what are a few things that you can do to make sure that they're your customer? One thing that you can look at, because the reality is customers, it's a very transactional thing, right? So if you are paying me for something, then you are my customer. If it's free, then you're still my customer, right? But we're trading on something else. So maybe you're trading my time. For example, right now, working with Joshua here, he's not paying me, but he's taking my time and he's allowing me to talk to his audience. And so that in itself is a bit of a transactional relationship. Money is not involved, but there is the transaction that goes on in there. And that's absolutely fine, since that's what I agreed on, right? So that's it. Whatever it is that you agree on with your customer, there needs to be that understanding. Okay, sorry, excuse me. Okay, yeah, there needs to be that understanding to say this person is the customer that I have. So that's really important, okay? And there are different ways that you can define a customer. And I'm going to go into that in a minute, right? But let me end that thought, right? When you have a customer, you need to understand that sometimes you need to nurture that customer. And let me use me as an example. During the COVID period in 2020, it was so difficult for us because, as you know, education, practically everything shut down, literally, during that period. So we didn't even have, it's almost like we didn't have a leg to stand on, right? They suddenly said, oh, work from home. And there were a lot of people who didn't feel the need to have their children be in online school, especially the younger children, right? Children under 4. And for my school at that time, we were split about 50-50. So we had about 50% of my population in upper school and about 50 in junior school. So it was so tough for us. So tough for us. And we needed to quickly ask ourselves, what can we do? Because we didn't want to stop. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and then I'll come back to share. We didn't want not to have customers at the end of 2019, right? So it wasn't for us to say, oh, these people cannot pay for our services, so they're no longer our customers. No, they had paid for one of our services before. They were there with us before. What suddenly happened at that time was that it was difficult for them to pay. So one thing that we did was that we worked on our payment profile and we said, okay, you know what? How many people can pay monthly? How many people can pay twice in a term? How many people can pay 3 times, 4 times in a term? And we actually created different payment profiles. Look, I can tell you guys for a fact that period of COVID-19, when we ended, that's in 20, so we went back to school in September. I opened up the schools, if you remember, in Lagos State. So I'm talking about Lagos State here because that's where I have my school. So they opened us up in Lagos State in went back to school in September 2020. But even that term, because we went to school in first term, second term was when they shut down the school, right? I think it was February or March was when they shut us down. Third term was a difficult term for us. And it was almost like that's where we cut our teeth. So by September, we deployed a lot of these things that we put in place. I said, okay, you know what are we going to do? And what we found out at the end of that term was, I think we had a debt profile of about maybe 3%, 5%. Even when there was no COVID, we had never had that kind of debt profile. And so we knew that that was working, right? But what did we do? It went from a place of, these guys are our customers. They used to pay for our services. Now they cannot. Because of what? So we looked at that temporal situation, really, and we found a solution for that temporal situation. We didn't say, oh, let us throw them out of the school. No, because that didn't make a lot of sense. That will show that you lack empathy. And so you need to be empathetic with your customers, all right? Because that way we built them up. And I can tell you right now, so we're going back to school this January, and some schools have resumed. And there was a parent who had asked us, not only did they ask for time to pay, they also asked us for a discount. That was the first time that parent was ever asking us for a discount. And that was so difficult because everybody was struggling, right? So we did give them a discount on one child, not on the second child. Today, right, they sent me a message in school that parent paid up all of their debt. They didn't even pay. So up till September last term, these parents kept paying twice in a term. But this January, he paid everything for both children. He didn't even ask for a discount. He didn't ask for anything. And they stuck with us throughout that period because we understood the needs of our customers. We understood who our customers were. And we said, how can we as a business position ourselves to support them? If somebody has never paid for your services and keeps asking you for free stuff, then you have a problem there. Do you truly have a customer, or do you have somebody who you potentially are hoping will be a customer, right? Do they even understand the value that you carry? And those are things that are very important that you need to answer yourself, even as we go across the session. So I'm just going to go back to sharing that window so that we can continue with the session. And if you have any questions at any time, please raise your hand and I would stop speaking and then we can go right into the question and answer segment. All right. So potentially you have 3 types of customers. You have the ones that are currently with you. Those are your customers. You know them. You can call their names. You know how much they spent on you or how much time or what it is that they want from you. You know those guys. Currently, they're your customers. You also have potential customers, and I put them at the very top, right? They're potential because they're not with you yet, okay? And we'll go to how you can identify your potential customers and what you can do to attract them. We're going to go into that session. And then, of course, you have return customers. That one is easy, right? You have these customers who love you so much, and so they come back. But you realize that there's some people who never have return customers, depending on the type of business that you do. There's some people who every term they're losing new students. Every term, the parent who they were doing a lesson for is not calling them back. Every term, that every month, that school who we were consulting for, not going back to that school. And that's a horrible thing to do, right? Because what's happening is that people are coming through your funnel, they're meeting you, but then there's a dissonance between your promise and your delivery. And if there's a dissonance between that promise, what you promised and what you're delivering, potentially there's a disharmony in their minds and they're going to leave you. Okay, so you don't want to be in that space where you don't have any return customers. That's not good. That's not good for you. It's not good for your profile. It's not good in any way. Okay, so you do want to have return customers. And that for me is a success metrics, right? For us as a school, one of our success metrics is that our parents keep coming back. And if any parent has to leave, they're not leaving because of bad service. No, they're leaving because maybe they relocated. They're leaving because they just found somewhere else that they wanted to go, which has always been on their bucket list, but they're not leaving because we gave them poor service. No, that's something for us that is a success metric, right? And so you need to know and understand what your success metrics are, because that is what tells you whether you're successful or not. It has nothing to do with anybody else's success metrics because they're yours. All right. And for us as well, referrals from our return customers is another way that we measure success. So do they come back to us? And not only come back to us, they tell us, oh, my sister is looking for a school, so of course I recommended you. That gives us plenty of joy, right? So those are some of our success metrics, right? For you, for example, as a lesson teacher, maybe as if you're a lesson teacher and you're here, I'm using education because I want to assume that most of us here are in the education sector. So I'm using education examples and not generalized examples. If you're a lesson teacher, for example, one of your success metrics could be that when you started working with the children, you noticed growth in them, right? And when you notice growth in them, how do you measure growth? What is growth? When people talk about data, people are like, data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes your data has nothing to do with physical numbers. It has to do with patterns that either change or remain. And that is data. A child who you started working with and could not read, being able to read, That's success metrics, right? But you need to have defined those goals, okay? A parent who you started working with and was complaining, and then suddenly 2 months later, they're so happy with the child and the school and you, and they're even telling their friends about you. That could be your success metric. So when you've defined your goals and defined what success means to you, you can then say to yourself, how do I attain success? But it starts with the definitions, okay? So let me not run ahead of myself because I'm going to talk about this a little later. I'm not looking at the screen because I'm looking at my share screen. So if there are questions, Joshua, if you could just pop me a WhatsApp message, that'll be fantastic so that I can see that and then I can shut down the sharing and then go back into the main room. Okay, so we're going to look first of all at your potential customers. So when they are potential, it means that what you need to be thinking about is how do I attract these people? Hi. Nah, I don't see that guy. What I know, say, if I enter that school with my language lesson, I'm made for life. You know, that kind of thing. You're like, man, I teach diction and elocution, and I want to go into that school with my services. How do I get there? And so you're thinking attraction. How do I attract them such that they are even interested in what it is that I have, right? And then you then convert them into potential leads because guess what? You've attracted them. For me, I define things differently. You've led them into what it is that you can do. When they have witnessed you, then what happens? You then think about converting them, right? So, and those three are extremely important. But it starts with them even recognizing that you are alive and that you are there. And in attraction, for potential customers, visibility is critical. So you cannot just sit down and say, people will know that I'm great. How would they know you're great? They can't. Right? So you must, in thinking about your customers, you must think about how you're going to attract them. What is that thing that you're going to be doing? Where are you going to be doing it such that they are attracted to you? These days, everybody, their grandmother and their neighbor are on social media. It could be Instagram. It could be WhatsApp. WhatsApp is such a critical marketing tool in Nigeria and dare I say Africa. Critical marketing tool, but a lot of times we miss it. You know, we just say, let's despise that little beginning. You shouldn't, right? So you must be visible. What are the things that make you visible? The things that make you visible, again, is from defining who your target market is. And we will talk about that a little later. But potential customers, your visibility is critical. Your messaging is critical. Your ability to attract them and keep them with you is extremely important. And then you've let them into your net. They are happy with your net. They're like, okay, you know what? Let's see. And then you then say, how do I convert them? Your conversion rate sometimes depends on your follow-up. It depends on the quality of service that you're offering. How do they even know the quality of your service? Via your proof of concept. You have shown that you have proof, right? Social proof that somebody has done something, that you've done something for somebody. For example, let me give you another example. As I'm working in this having this session with you guys, something I can do is what I can record myself, right? Having this session, that's proof. So when I go to people and I say, oh, I've had a session with so people, and this is the proof. It was a 20-minute session. I have it, and I'm showing to them that I've done something, right? Even if it's a free session, but I did it, right? It's my expertise. And that's something you need to ask yourself. When you're working with people, your target is towards what? Sometimes that thing that you're doing just at the beginning and it seems like as if you're not getting anything from it, potentially that's your portfolio that you're putting together, right? When you eventually meet a client that you can attract, you already have a portfolio. I say to people, when you start something, right, or when you are looking at doing something, sometimes that's not the day you start it. You'd have started it before. For example, Joshua and I met a couple of months ago, and before he then talked about the Eastwood Educators Summit, the Educators Retreat. But we had met somewhere else, and I'm sure he had looked and said, oh, this is interesting. Okay, what this woman is talking about is interesting. How can I work with her in the future? And he did say that. He said, oh, I'm sure we can do something together in the future. And I was like, oh, that's fine. That'll be okay. And then he came up to me and said, oh, I'm having this Educators Retreat. But guess what? He didn't start the networking or the connections on the day he needed money. No. If you need the day you need your knife, if that's the day you are beginning to sharpen it, then you're weak, right? Because it's not going to work. You need to move into battle. On the day of battle is the day you begin to pump up your muscles. What muscles? you don't have anything that you're going to work with. Okay, so it's really important that not only do you identify where you want to go, you also identify how you can get them, what it is that you need to do, how to cultivate that relationship. Why? So that when you get there, there's already something that they've known about you. There's nothing wrong with you running organic ads on Instagram, okay, Facebook hasn't started, Facebook does that. WhatsApp hasn't started that, but they'll be starting that shortly. Jumping onto people's Clubhouse sessions and commenting, saying something, right? What are you doing? You're making yourself visible, but you're not just wasting your energy. You're being very targeted, very intentional, because you've potentially said, this person, I will get you. Do you understand? And so been doing that, you've put together an entire portfolio of how you get to them. And let's look at your current customers. That's an ongoing romance, right? Every single day, you're clearing those weeds. You must never let them become common to you. The minute they become common to you and they're telling you something that they're not happy, I'm not happy with the way my child failed their midterm exams, you'll be like, don't worry, ma. Mommy, Timmy, you know how Timmy can be now. Don't worry, we'll work on it. Don't worry what. Professional. That's you not understanding the importance of your current customers. And guess what? It will leave a bitter taste in their mouth, and eventually it will leave you on. Work with them for years. I know that what happened. What happened was that you didn't take them seriously, and they moved on. So you need to be very careful with those customers, right? That are already your customers, because guess what? Like this cup of cake, cupcake. Everybody does cupcake these days. In fact, like I said, everybody, their grandmother and their neighbor does cupcakes. All you need to do is go on Instagram and type cupcakes. All sorts of cupcakes are flying out at you. So even though cupcakes are common, but there's something about your cupcakes. You must keep innovating your cupcakes. You must keep adding the sprinkles. You must keep trying to get people to see so much more to you than your cupcake, right? And it's much more to me, for example, than just having a school. No, there's much more than that. And building nations. We're creating platforms for children to express themselves, because we understand the fact that as they grow older, they need to have the skills necessary to transform whatever environment they find themselves. So we are not a school, we're a transformative platform. That's who we are. So you need to redefine who you are, right, for your current customers, because that's what keeps you fresh. You must get them to stick and stay every single time. Cupcakes are sticky, especially the ice, the icing, right? So when you hold on to them, you know you've had a cupcake. Do you understand what I mean? So you constantly want to ensure that you're putting a cupcake in the hands of your current customers, such that the stickiness stays and they don't leave you. Okay, so it's not to shove it down their throat, but it's to make it so attractive that they don't want to go anywhere else. And then let's look at your return customers. When you do that, what happens is they keep coming back, and then have different flavors for them at that time. Don't imagine that because they liked one thing that you did, they are going to keep liking it. What if they don't? Have options for them. That's why you need to begin to think about collaborations, depending on what it is that you do, right? And I'm going to go back to the lesson teacher. Actually, let me not do a lesson teacher example anymore. So you are a regular teacher in the classroom, right? And maybe in your school, they've kept you, you've been there for 3 years, so you've stuck with them for 3 years, but maybe you want to think about doing something extra, right? For the students in your classroom, what you want to ask yourself is, what extra do I carry? Right? The extra that you carry is what makes people come back to you. Okay? And when you, as a consultant, let me then move to the example of a consultant. Why your customers will come back to you beyond the current problem that you have. And that's what I mean for you as a class teacher as well. You're a class teacher. Some people say, oh, I'm just a class teacher. There's nothing like just as a class teacher. That's one of the most difficult professions in the world. Being a class teacher is so tough. Right? So you need to say to yourself, what makes these children come back every single term because of me? And keep coming back to the school because of me. Your innovativeness, your ability to understand their needs even before they have those needs, right? So you must be anticipatory. And that's the same way for you as a consultant. You must be able to look at your clients. I've had clients come to me and they told me, oh, I need to hire a social media manager, or this admin thing is difficult. And I'm like, wait, go and analyze your needs. It's easy for me to take that business because they want me to hire them a social media manager and they will pay me for it, right? But it's not about the money, right? For me, it's how do I make your business truly matter? How do I give you convenience in running your business? Because one extra staff is extra money that you're going to have to pay. And if you're not making that money, then guess what? It's going to get difficult for you. And then you're going to be thinking, I have all this work for me. Do I really need this consultant? No. I don't want that, right? So of course I want to be creative in the way that I respond to them. And I said, okay, you know what? Highlight your needs for me. And by the time they told me what their needs were, I said, you don't need a social media manager. You already have somebody who's handling social media. The problem you have is that you haven't created workflows for them. They don't have any workflow. And when people don't have workflow, they will do whatever it is that they want to do, right? Not only do you not have workflows, you don't even have proper supervision. Everybody there is just the same. They're like, oh, in this organization, we are all the same. I agree that we are all the same, but our jobs must not all be the same, right? So that's something that I did for them. So if they have issues, they don't think about somebody else. They think about me, because they will say, you know what, KK will solve it for us. She will solve for her. It's not about money. It's about my business. And that's something that I want to put out there for everybody. And that's something you need to begin to look at as well. So do you anticipate their needs before they anticipate it? And that again comes from data. If a customer has complained once, twice about something, that is a pattern. You want to either break that pattern or encourage that pattern. All right. Of course, you want to be creative in the way that you do things. Look at this whole ice cream buffet in front of you. It's so beautiful. You might taste it and it's exactly the same ice cream, but they've added different colors to it, and it makes you salivate, right? You must be swift in your response. Stop feeling that people have time. People don't have time, and you need to understand that they don't, right? The minute you assume that your customers have time, you're going to become slow. And guess what? I think the data says when a customer is waiting on you, after about 4-5 minutes, they start to think about another alternative. It's not even up to that for some people. They start to think about, oh, these people are not responding to me. You know what? Let me find somebody else. And that's it. And that is somebody who is no longer a return customer, because they will find somebody else and move their business there, especially if that person is quicker than you. And you know, at that stage where you're romancing people to come and work with you, you're so quick. You're answering their questions quickly. And so they've forgotten that when they started working with you, you were quick. And then suddenly you became comfortable with them, and then you slowed down, right? So they'll go to that person. That person is quick. They might probably have the same problem they're having with you, with that person 2-3 months down the road, because that relationship has gotten comfortable. But that should never be you. Okay. And then, of course, you must think about their convenience. How do you keep making your business so convenient for them that they want to keep coming back? That's something you always have to have at your fingertips. And of course, appreciation. Appreciate them for that thing that they are doing with you. Right. I thought this was very interesting. This particular slide. Look at what this man, the husband, is saying to the wife. He said, I don't know why you like them so much. It's not like they wow you with their once over the top customer service. And she says, oh, it's nothing big. They remember my name. They talk to my kids. It's the little things that wow me. And for her, that's it. So I'm going to ask you this question. What is your service level agreement? What is that thing that you have said to people and that you do it consistently? You need to answer that question, right? What exactly are you known for? You must be known for something. If you're not known for something, then you are nothing. And what you must be known for must be tied to your customers' needs. It's not about you. Don't be known for being that business who is a show-off. Don't be known for that business who has lovely Instagram pictures. Don't be known for that business who is always sending newsletter. Does it connect with the needs of your customers? If it doesn't, then you are losing customers. Because they would go somewhere else. They'll find somebody who truly would meet their needs, and they will go there. They would go there. And you don't want that to happen to you. Somebody says, you can't see something? You can't see my screen?
Yeah, I'm wondering, because I can see your screen. I'm asking if there are other people having this same kind of issues. Okay,
I stopped sharing.
Yeah, some of the persons can see. Maybe you can reinitiate.
Okay, I'll continue sharing again. So Princess says that should we entertain rude customers because we need their patronage? So I'm going to give an example. There's a school that I did a school audit for, right? And in that, when I went for my school for the school audit, something I talked to them was about their communication tools, and they showed me a text message that somebody had sent to them. One of their parents had sent to them, and they were so upset that, look, now we told them that we had it was a picnic, I think, but in the picnic some of the things they had told the parents to bring made no sense. And I said to them, I'm not that client or that consultant that will tell you everything is great so that you give me your business. I said, you were wrong. What sort of communication is this? And so of course the parent got very rude with some of the comments that they made. And I said, ignore this rudeness. Look at this part. This thing you sent to them was wrong. They say it's clap, clap, that leads to dance. What sort of clapping are you clapping that is causing them to dance? Right? Yes, there's some customers that are rude. They were born rude, but there are other ones that you have cultivated rudeness in them. One, because you have not truly said who you are. Two, because there's some things that you do that are very unprofessional as well, right? You don't have the systems in place. You're not saying the right things at the right time. You're just assuming that they will understand. And if you think that's okay, that's not okay. So before we say the customer is rude, my question is, what are the ways that you have? What are the different instances of rudeness that they have shown? Can you truly say that you responded in the right way? How did you? So let me give you an example. On Instagram, I wanted to buy a diffuser, a table diffuser for my office. I wanted to buy a diffuser, and I posted it on my Instagram story. So people recommended brands to me and said, oh, try this. And so I went on those brands, and most of them didn't have their prices on their page. And I'm like, I don't understand. So I sent one a message on her, because I wasn't about to go into your DM, right? I'm the customer, so I should be able to talk to you and you answer me. So I sent them a message and said, oh, I would like to know the price of the diffusers. And they said to me, please chat with us in the DM. And I said, I will not chat with you in the DM. Kindly let me know how much it is, or you can chat with me in my DM. You know, some people might think that I was rude, but I was not rude. I was irritated. If I go into ShopRite, what happens? The price tags are there, and that's what Instagram is like. Right? Your price tag should be clearly there. If I go to the market, I'm going to haggle. Madam, these tomatoes are 200 naira. No, I don't get 200 naira. 100 naira I get. And we start to do that, right, in the market space. That's different. That's not Instagram, right? So for me, and one of them buzzed me and said, oh, madam, you didn't have to answer us like that. I said, exactly how did I answer you? I said, I will not come to your DM. So it's either you come to my DM or you respond to me on the chat. And that's what I said to them. What was rude for me? I didn't see it as being rude. I saw it as needing something to be answered, right? But there are people, so again, I would ask, in what ways are they rude? And you might not want to share it here, but go back and think about your processes. Go back and think very critically about the ways that you have connected with this client, engage with this client. Is there something that they feel that is missing from that relationship that is causing them to react? Sometimes rudeness is reactionary. It's not right, but sometimes that's what it is. However, if you found that there's nothing that you've done the right thing, and this person is rude because they feel, hey, I'm their organ, paying them money, then cut them off. And I've done that several times as well. I've cut off customers because I just cannot take it, right? I have my sense of self, and that's a mental health issue. And we talked about that in the session this morning. Your mental health as educators is very important, right? So you need to understand where to draw the line. However, good service is good service. So kill them with good service. But if you know that you've given good service and they're still being rude and trying to take advantage of you, then walk away from that transaction. That's what I would say. All right. But be sure that you have actually given good service. So I'm going to try sharing my screen again. Yeah, but the challenge is when I share my screen, sometimes I'm unable to then okay, so I'm just going to try and share my screen again and hope that everybody can see it. Okay, so I'm sharing again. I hope everybody can see it this time around. Okay.
Okay.
Can everybody see my screen?
Okay, it's up. Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, great. All right, great. So this, I mean, is important, right? So you'll need to say, what are my service level agreements? What is that promise I'm making to my customers? And before you make a promise and communicate it, be sure you can meet it. If you make a promise, you communicate, you can meet it, you're creating potential dissonance in your system. And once there's a dissonance, then there's a problem with your system. All right. And I would like to talk about your customer journey in identifying who your customers are. If you look at these cards, they're coming from somewhere and they're going somewhere. They're coming from somebody's farm, dug out of the ground because they were right, ready for my pot, for my fried rice, Okay, and then they're right here right now waiting for me to pick them up, and then I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to buy them. They'll chop off the top for me. They would wash I would wash them in my house, scrape them, and then use them for something else. That's the customer journey. Before that customer came to you, right? Let me go back to the previous slide. Before these carrots got into my pot, they came from somewhere. You need to understand that your customers are coming from somewhere. And you need to know where they're coming from. And that's where you need to define the needs, right? Let's teach mathematics. Why should somebody hire you as their math teacher? They would hire you because, one, they don't have the time at home. Two, the children don't seem to be getting, or their child doesn't seem to be getting what happening in school. Three, they just want extra brush up. So your question is to yourself, because your messaging is important, is who am I trying to attract? Is it that parent? And you need to be very niche in your communication, right? And by niche, I mean drill down. The market for lesson teachers is large, right? You don't just say, I'm a lesson teacher. You say, I'm a math lesson teacher. So you're a math lesson teacher. Okay, great. Again, that's very large. So I do math in primary school, secondary school, preschool. I'm a math teacher, and I specialize in teaching primary students. Okay, primary students, year 1 to year 6, which one? I'm a math teacher who teaches primary children who are preparing for entrance examinations because I understand the needs. That's niche. Anybody that sees that profile, this is what I've been looking for. This is the person I've been looking for. Why? Because they can certainly see that you can meet their problems. You've defined the problem for them even before they've defined it themselves, right? So they're coming from, okay? And then where they are right now is that I'm looking for this problem my child is having. And that's when you come in, right? And so when you find out what it is that they need, because you have defined their market, and how do you get those details? Again, data. The parents up and down who are looking for a lesson teacher because they just don't have the time to put their children home. Of the children. So like, let me get it now. So you need to position yourself special. Some schools who, for example, open up really early and close really late. Why? Because they know that their customers are those that are rushing. So potentially, those could be bankers, right? People working in telecoms institutions, people who work where and again, I'm using Lagos State as an example. People work on the mainland and come and live on the island, right? Or vice versa, or work in even Shango and work in DI. They have house like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. So a school around that area that says, are you rushing off to work and you're wondering when to pick up your child? Don't lose your job because of childcare. We are open from 5 a.m. every morning. Oh my goodness. Suddenly you're the answer to their needs. But you first of all need to identify needs. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Right? Oh gosh, I'm not you guys are not vibing me.
No, I mean, if you could see the tiles, I'm literally just shaking my head, and I can see for some other person like going out his picture, his camera up. You could we are following up on what you're saying.
Fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. That's really important, right? And then, of course, you connect with them and then they recognize you. But if you haven't gone through some of these steps, especially identifying the needs, then you may never be able to catch that customer. And what you do is that you make with somebody that says, hey, maybe I need you, Sha. Right? And those people that do Sha, they're so difficult to please because they don't even know what it is that they need. And you also don't know what it is that you carry, the value you carry. I love this plant, particularly because it shows success, right? It has grown from a seed, it budded, and suddenly it's open, right? And it probably is a sunflower, but there's no color on it. But I can picture that it's yellow and it's responding to the sun. For this plant, success rate is opening up. And that's what I said at the beginning. You need to understand what are your success factors. You must define them. And it can be anything. Don't let anybody deceive you. If your success factor is money, you want to have plenty money, that's okay. Define how much you want to have. There's a group that we're on. It's a no limit education committee, and something that we're trying to do there is limit education. Somebody was giving her pitch, and her pitch was that this year 2020 she wants to make 100 million. That she wants to have looked through her account and said, I made 100 million this year, and that for her is the least she wants to do. So the question for us now is, how do you get to 100 million? What are you currently making? What are the additional things you need to do, the additional sources you need to seek to make 100 million? But first of all, you need to define what it is that you want. So in defining that I want 100 million, my customer service must be top notch. I must respond like that. I must find avenues. For example, talk to Joshua and say, Joshua, can I talk to your clients about what it is that I do? It's totally free. I can give a discount to the first 10 people that register, knowing that if I didn't come for that session, I won't even see the 10 people. You know, and that's money I'm looking for. But in looking for money, money doesn't jump on you, right? You need to have looked at 360 degrees, all the things that you do, and then you lock in the money that you need, right? Is it referrals you need? Okay, so what do you do? What is your referral program like? You must know what it is that you need, and because that's what will take you on the path to getting there, right? Is it pass rating exams as a school that you want people to know you for? So what are you going to do? You start to drill the children from year 2, year 3, year 4, so that by year 5, 6, they're flying. Why? They know how to take common entrance exam, because it's exam you want, not necessarily intelligence. So you must know what it is that you want. If it's social impact, again, know what it is that you want. And then you know when you hit your bullseye. So define the style of your show. You are the one that defines it. Don't let anybody else define it. Their success is not your success. All right. So in understanding your customers, in understanding who you are as a business, you must first of all know what you want to gain. What you want to gain, honestly, will determine even who your customers are and how you reach out for them, and will determine whether or not you were successful in that venture or not. Okay, so that's really, really, really important. Right? And then, of course, I put this together and I said, think end to end. But if you just go down, the fourth thing that I wrote there is define your key performance indicators. And the way you define them is, so if when I'm trying to do something, right, I look at all the different things that I ask, and I ask myself, what are my objectives? I must have an objective. And that's my O in OAR, in OR. And OR, if you think about an OR, use it to what? Paddle a boat, right, to move you forward. So that's what that is, OAR. What is your objective? What is your reason? What is your big why? That is what will drive the actions that you take. When you take the right actions, you meet the objectives, true or false. And in meeting those objectives, you have your results, and which is R. So your objectives generally define the type of actions that you want, activity, connections, whatever. And that is what drives the results that you want to see. And then you need to be able to measure what it is that you're doing. Again, when you've defined it, then you can measure it, whether you achieved it or not. And then finally, can you repeat it? If you cannot repeat it, then how will you truly say that you're successful at it? Was it a one-time thing? A flash in the pan? You need to be able to define it, and you need to be able to do it over and over again. Okay, successfully. So it's not a flash in the pan. The solutions that I sell as a school consultant are things that I do. I've done them over. If I talk to you on lesson planning, your lesson plans will never remain the same. And not just your lesson plans, your children in your classrooms will learn. And you'll be shocked. How come I never did it before? That's because I've put in the work. I've done my research. I've taken loads and loads of courses. I've done it over and over and over again. This, for the past 2 weeks, I've done so many different trainings on lesson planning, because I bring out a flyer and then schools call me to work with them. Of course, I do a free one, which is about 2,500 naira per session. But then I then work with schools. Tomorrow, for example, and for the next 2 days, I'm going to be working with a school in Abuja, virtually from my house, right? But because I know what it is I want to do, and I know how to manage it and show my social proof, then guess what? Boom, success comes. And you need to understand the fact that sometimes you have to cast your net in many different waters to catch fish. Okay? So you need to ask yourself, where are the different places that I need to be? The one who plants a few seeds will reap a small harvest. If you want a large harvest, then you need to plant a lot of seeds. So where is your ground? What are your seeds? What exactly is it that you want to do? And that's really important. Once you can make those definitions, then you can bang out your success. You can be that person who is getting them like that, and you can keep attracting what it is that you give out, because you know what it is that you're doing, right? So thank you all so much. That's it from me. Back to you, Joshua. And of course, if anybody has any other questions, I'm more than happy to respond to them.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I mean, my book is full. Ms. KK, my book is full. Oh my, thank you so much for that amazing session. And there are a few things that stood out for me in, you know, a whole lot of things that stood out for me in everything that you shared, you know. And educators that are in the house, I want to make sure, I want to bring a certain perspective to this. Um, you might be wondering, why are we talking about is for some people, for the teachers might feel like, well, this kind of discussion is something that probably um, school owners should be listening to more. Um, and then, but then, of course, there are two sides to the coin of what you have shown us today, Ms. Keke, which is really, really amazing. You have shown us the side of a teacher who is facilitating in a school system, and also the side of an employee or a teacher who has needs and who has goals and has to achieve these goals, these personal goals. And it's important, a few things that you said. First of all, you redefined school for me. This is the first time I'm hearing this this term. You said it is not a school, it's a transformative platform. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because being a transformative platform, it means in all ramification, everything gets to play in. And then if you as a teacher, you need to understand why we're talking about this. If you as a teacher in the school understands the process for customer journey, both the identification to the point where you get them, you use attraction, and then to the point where we now have them as current customers, and then you give us some strategies there. The ongoing romance, I mean, that one is amazing. The ongoing romance and all that. But understanding the customer journey would help you practically help the school fulfill its purpose, because we have teachers that don't understand the process of that. Most teachers don't understand these processes, and they don't pay attention to these processes, and at the end of the day, they end up having just focused on whatever it is they have in the classroom, and it reflects in their relationship with the customer who pays the money for the system to remain, right? And then you have a lot of issues with the customer, and you don't understand their journey, and you don't understand what success should look like to them. At that point in time, you're just focused on, okay, I'm here to teach A, B, C, D, and then I move out, and then pay me at the end of the month. That is not how it works. When you come into a system, whether you are employed as a teacher, you have to understand that it is a partnership, right? This processes has to be explained for you to understand what it takes before a customer comes into the system, stays in the system, and is retained in the system. So all these are stuff, because at the end of the day, it is not just the school owner that implements this thing. It is not the school owner that makes all the stuff work. It is you as a teacher in the classroom. So you know this. If you know this, you are definitely helping the vision of the school, the vision of this transformative platform. So it is important that we're talking about this. It is important that you understand your role in all this. It is not something that is meant for all this customer business stuff. Leave it for the
I mean, something I wanted to add. Something I wanted to add was, as you just talked about the teachers, I realized that a lot of teachers only see themselves as classroom teachers. So all you see really is your profession, the fact that you're a teacher. But there's so much more to you than that. If you pick up your CV and you look at your skills, do you realize that you're a proofreader? Do you realize that you are an organization? You are very organized, and so you can organize parties, organize events. You're an interior decorator, because guess what? You can design homes and learning spaces for children. Do you also realize that you're an event coordinator for children? Do you realize that you can be a parent coach or a teacher coach? So there's so many. There are about 31 different professions that you can do as a teacher. But till you begin to see yourself as more than that, then that's all you would be. If you're somebody who has been teaching for 2 years, for example, for new teachers, do you know that you can be a new teacher mentor? And you can create a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, where they pay you 1,000 naira every 500 naira every month. And all you're teaching them is, and you teach them one by one, how do you create lesson notes? How do you do child profiling? How do you, to be in that group, you must pay your 1,000 every month. If not, you're out of the group. People will stay because they are learning from you. In a year, you have 10 people. You've made extra money. How much money are you going to make? It might not seem like a lot right now, but imagine that you have that for different things that you're doing. So as teachers, we need to really begin to see ourselves as different, right? And you need to understand the fact that there are some schools that will never give you time to do the things that you want to do, the extra things that you want to do. So you must make sure, right, that you do your job perfectly as a teacher, right? And then those other extra things, you plan them into your day. Don't use the time for your school to do the extra things. It's not going to work, right? Because your integrity will then be in question, and you don't want that to happen to you. Okay, but there's so much that you can do. So much. If you're a home economics teacher, for example, do you know that you can cook? Yes, now. There's so much that you can do with it. So please don't limit yourself. Don't imagine that you're just a teacher. There's nothing like that. All right. So take your CV today and begin to ask yourself, what are my skills? Your skill is not class teacher of primary 3. Your skill is not lesson teacher. Your skill is not, I did lesson notes. No. Your skill is the ability to combine different learning outcome, different learning standards into a learning outcome. That's the skill. So you look at the needs of a student and you can devise a means, right? Implementable means to move that student from where they are to where they need to be. And there are measurements that you can do across the way. So that's who you are. All right. So you're just not a teacher. You're much more than that. I just wanted to add that. Back to you, Joshua.
Thank you so much for adding that. That was a very great ad, right? Because it's almost like you ushered us into the session that we're going to be having tomorrow for educators. We're going to be creating multiple streams of recurring income, right? Because we've said all these big things and all these things. We'll still be talking. We're basically on education. What allows you as a teacher to do the best that you can in the system that you are in, be productive, and also be good for yourself, achieve your own goals, which means have some money, to do some things that you need to do, right? So these are things that we'll be talking about. But then also there's something I wanted. I'm just gonna ask you a question for the benefit of everyone listening, Ms. Keke. And this question is: we've talked about the who is the customer, and we identified that the customer is the one who pays for the services, primarily the one who pays for the services. So in the educational system, we can as well say that the customers are the parents. Well, that this time around, I'm looking at, okay, from people joining from the formal educational system, we said, okay, maybe the customers are the parents because they're the ones who pay for the services. Now, what does success look like for this customer, for this parent? Now, I'm asking in terms of, is there a general look for success? And when I'm talking about, because at the end of the day, they bring in their children into, it's just like we're supposed to have this session, what's the true purpose of schools before this? And then I'm trying to find out now, is there general, I'm trying to look for the best way to put this. Is there a general look for success? Is there a general standard that I say when a parent, for example, as a parent, I bring my parent to a school, and then I bring my child to a school, I enroll him, you take me through the journey, I pay and stuff. What can I see either in that child to know that this particular system has been good, or this particular system has done well? Is it just in the services they give to me, or is it in a certain outcome that I look out for in the child that I've sent into that system, right? And I'm asking this because of what reflects in our community, right? What reflects in our community? And of course, you can make some real. I would also like to the very previous event that happened in Lagos with the students, from this particular point. What would a parent expect for a child? Would that be seen as success?
Okay, so the reality is sometimes as schools we overpromise. And let me explain that. We overpromise because we do not actually determine what it is that we can do. I'll just answer Esther's questions. There's no general, the reality is that there's no general measurement for success. It's impossible because your success is different from my success. What success means to me and what it means to you is different, right? So you need to create your own success metrics and then you need to define and measure them. And that's what becomes your success. Okay. But if we want to talk about, let me drill down into education. So for me, it's not how many children pass a common entrance exam that is my success rate. No. Because I define things a little differently. They will pass the entrance exam, but when they moved from my school into another secondary school, how do they perform there? Right? For me, that's success because it shouldn't end at my school. But to answer your question directly, drawing from the incident that happened in a school in Lagos where a child was, safety issues in a particular school. So the reality is every school says that they're going to take care of children when they are with them. Right. So success for that parent is that I brought my child to school and my child leaves and my child is fine whilst they're in school. So that child would feel that their goal in that for losing a child, of course, they will feel that I'm not. It was a horrible thing to do, to be honest. You can't explain it away. Right. It's a horrible thing to have happened. So the school itself should then ask itself, were we successful? Did we do the things that we're going to say that we're going to do? So do we have proper supervisory processes in our hostels? What are our anti-bullying policies? Do the children know the anti-bullying policies? Are our children able to speak out? And is there somebody that listens to them? Do we have a log that says, oh, so and so children have been complaining about this thing in particular? It's not the children that complain, but what they're complaining about that you are logging, right? Because when you log those, then you realize there's a problem here or there's no problem here, right? So that's something that we need to begin to look at. But if a parent comes to a school and says, my child is not reading, and you promise a parent and say, oh, within 2 weeks, your child will read, you better make that child read within 2 weeks because you've promised it. That parent will be unhappy and would move their child to another school if they don't read within 2 weeks because you promised and you have failed. So be very careful with your promise. Before you actually make a promise and say what you're going to do, you must first of all ask yourself, what is the problem? And sometimes for a child coming to a school, you cannot truly identify the problem until that child has started school. It could be that that child has a special educational need like dyslexia. So how would you determine that from day one or from what the parent said? The parent might not even know that that's a problem. So yeah, okay. So it's really important that we actually define what our success, and it takes me right back to that. What is your success? Yes, your parents are your customers because they're paying the money, but the students are the consumers. Now, how do I know that my child is eating peak 1, 2, 3? Because I begin to see the effects of peak 1, 2, 3 in them. So in your consumers, your customers need to be able to say, oh, okay, this thing I'm paying for, I can see it in this child, right? So how do you optimize your value chain, right? Because your value chain is what your parents see. They've paid for it, but what is your value chain? Your value chain are things like reading, writing, a child's ability to comport themselves when they're in public. But all of those things are flowing from your value as a school or as a teacher or as a consultant. All of that must flow from who you have said you are and what you have said you're going to do. When you flow it properly, and to be honest with you, give people a service level agreement. Let them know. When people come into my school for the first time, we have a baseline assessment and we give them baseline assessment. Okay, this is where your child is coming in. These are the issues that we have seen. And that's like your entrance exam. That's baseline. Then we have a midline system where we again assess the children, midline, and then we have top line. And at every single point in time, we're communicating those results, right? And that is structure. And that helps the customer who is paying for that money, that parent, know that something is being done with their children. We're not just putting them in a classroom and not doing anything. No, they need to know that something is being done because money has left hands, right? So you must clearly define what it is that you want to do and how you're going to do it. And of course, how you're going to communicate it. Success, honestly, if it's not measurable, you're not successful. Which is why I talked about measurements in one of the slides. You must be able to measure it. You must be, right? And you must be able to time it. Okay, to say between this time to this time, this is what will likely happen, but we'll keep you updated. And between that time to that time, you better have key performance indicators. Remember, I talked about KPIs as well. You need to be able to measure and track at every single point in time that you are doing what you said you would do. Okay, it's really important. And then you have to identify the tools that you need. What are the things that you need? So if a child is coming from another school, for example, you need a referral letter from that school. You need a referral letter. You need to see their past exams, see some of their notebooks, because that will give you a clue into what they're doing and where they are right now. If you're a teacher and you're doing lesson, ask for the school scheme of work. Ask for the ask. Find out. You want to know what sort of textbooks they're using. Why? Because all of that would give you a better frame in doing the job that you are meant to do. If not, you will fail at that job because you have not really defined or even know what it is that you're coming up against. Right? So that's the thing with working with customers that are different from consumers. You must be able to clearly say, this is what your consumer will enjoy based on what you have paid. And this is us showing you that your consumer is enjoying what you have paid. So you need to be able to define both sides of the table very clearly.
Thank you so much for analyzing that. Thank you so much for sharing so amazing things that you have. This is the question and answer session. I'm really glad where you talked about the effect of what it is that you saw into that child outside your school, right? Outside your school, you must, you as teachers, you must understand that that is actually a very major line of success that almost every parent is looking at. Even if they don't look at it, even if they don't know it, right? It should mean success to you that a child leaves your class, leaves your school, goes to another school and is doing so well. Not just academically, but also every other aspect, because of course, tomorrow we'll be talking about raising generational leaders, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of things that doesn't have to do with this, because mistake has really taken us into technical terms right now, really technical terms, and this is something that is so important. So tomorrow we'll bring it up a little bit and we'll talk about the ones that are not unseen, some things that are unseen that lies within the background that really affect the kind of people or communities that will make. Because at the end of the day, those students leave your classes, they join the community. What they become in that community is what you've sold into them in that classroom. You need to understand that. You are only giving them, it's just a reflection. You just give them who you are. You transfer who you are to them. All right. So you put in all those in consideration while you try to do what you have to do as a teacher. Now I'm going to take a question. I'm seeing a hand up from Tony. Tony, you can go ahead to ask your question, and after that we'll get straight into final thoughts and announcements. Tony, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you very much, and very big thank you to Mrs. Ajayi for that impactful teaching. And my question is, how would you handle customers who will not complain if they are displeased about your services or your products, and rather than complaining, they will just move to the next service provider? For example, a parent in a school who's displeased with your service, rather than complaining and telling you where the problem is from, they would just withdraw their kids and take them to another school. Now, how do you deal with that?
That's a very good question, Tony. Thank you for asking it. That's a very good question. And you do have customers like I'm just not worth the hassle, big. Let me just move, right? And something that you want to do is to have a follow-up process. Okay, you need to have a follow-up process, especially anonymous feedback, so that people can actually talk. There's some people who feel that they're never going to be listened to. And so you need to break that chain, right? You need to say things like, oh, we've gotten feedback and we're doing something about the feedback. You need to ask. So periodically, we send out surveys in my school. Periodically send out surveys 2 weeks, sometimes 1 month. For new parents, we ask them a poll. So how are you feeling? We're constantly calling, even random parents in the school. And sometimes it's not the school leader, right, or admin. Sometimes it's the teachers that will say, oh, you know what? These are the tools. So we have all sorts of things that we use for sending out messages. And so the teachers send out messages one-on-one to the parent and say, oh, how are you doing? What is there anything that you want to talk to me about? And so that way, somebody who they feel they can talk to, who is not going to shut them down, is talking to them, right? So you must have a communication process. You must have a feedback mechanism, and it will look very different for different schools. I've just explained what we do. Regularly, we call our parents. Regularly, our teachers would ask the parents questions at least once a week at least. They ask, oh, is everything okay? Is your child feeling okay? Is there something you want to talk to me about? They ask, and they do it via an app. So it's just a communication app that they send messages out. Sometimes as well, we're intentional about standing outside when parents come and drop off. It's been difficult with COVID, but we still try and do something where we actually are asking them questions. So is there something, are you okay? Is everything okay? Talk to me. Let's know how we can help you better. You're actually actively seeking for that feedback, right? Because some people are never going to talk. So when you actively seek for that feedback and you know that you've done all that you can, then to be honest, there's some times where there's nothing you can do, because it could even be something that is not up to you. It's something on the inside of them that they have not even resolved, right? Until they resolve it, there's nothing you can do. You will break yourself and bend over backwards, but you still will not meet their needs because they truly have not even defined their needs. But on your own part, make sure that you have a system where you're taking feedback, you're using feedback, you're thanking people and appreciating their feedback, and they can actually see that you have taken that feedback and you're using it. Okay, that's something that you want to be able to do. Just like that woman that says, oh, they know my name, they know my children's names, and that for some people is enough. All right, so and it will be different for different customers, so you need to know exactly what, when a parent has complained once, twice, 3 times, it might not seem like they were complaining. They might just have mentioned something. But sometimes once they mention it, I have a member of my admin team that notes it down immediately. And they would go back to that parent and say, oh, you mentioned this. I know you were joking about it, but I just wanted to find out a bit more. We never take anything. So that's why I talked about not making your customers common to you. It doesn't matter what they say or how they say it. The Bible says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So because they've said something, sorry, I didn't want to plant on this into a religious session, but that they've mentioned something is in there, right? So you want to be able to check, is there more or is this all there is? You get? So it's really important that you honestly have those feedback processes. But if you've tried all you can and they still leave, don't sweat it. Another one would come. Just have very strong attraction processes and they will come back. I mean, I'm in a place right now in my school where if somebody leaves and we know that it was nothing, we are fine with respect to our service levels. We don't sweat it. We talk to them even after they've left. We ask them, oh, is there something we can help you with? And some of them have come back. We left, you kept calling us and sending us messages that, are we okay? Are we settled into the new school? Is there something you want to that made us come back, because you obviously cared a lot about our children. And it's interesting that they've come back. As well as they've come back with 2-3 other children because they've grown over the years. So we have a very robust communication and feedback mechanism in my school. So something that I would say that and I tell all of my clients to do it because I've seen that it helps. I hope that helps, Tony.
So yeah, Tony, I'm sure that helped understand your customer journey, and of course, take a lot of feedbacks even when they are not actually complaining per se. When you feel they're not complaining, listen more when they are not talking, listen at body reactions and stuff, and also understand that from my own point also, students, the kids most times end up telling you most of what their parents are thinking most times. If you can listen to them carefully, they will tell you exactly what they discussed at home. They will tell you just a few things that they will say will already give you a sense that that they are that they are not really satisfied about the certain service or so. All right. So we already stretched the session to the point, and at this point we're going to take a few announcements. But I want to especially first of all send a very warm thank you to Mrs. Okeyinfu for being here. You were with us in the morning during the Clubhouse session, and you were here also. I mean, it's been amazing. You've just been giving us value upon value upon value, and that has been so amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. And I just want to remind everyone here that we've had this session. We've had the first session in the morning on Clubhouse, and this session now, and tomorrow we'll be having another session on Clubhouse again. All right, we'll be having another session on Clubhouse again. What you have to do is to make sure you don't come alone. All right, the link is open and the link is for everyone. Make sure you don't come alone to that particular session, and then also make sure also that for Miss KK that just spoke to us, she has a book. There's a book that she has that you can buy, all right? Because now you have listened to her, you have seen a whole lot of things that she has to offer. The best thing for you to do is to glean from her, make sure that you connect with her. And one of the best ways you can connect with her is to look for her products, look for things that she has done that can be of use to you, right? She is a school owner, a consultant, an entrepreneur. So she's materials or things that you get from a person like this will be very helpful for you as an individual. So what you need to do is to make sure that you are in contact with her. So this link, this is the announcement link. I'm just going to yield the mic to Mr. Toy to round up the session, but I just want to make mention of this. Get on this link. It's been pasted on the chat session, and you're going to see this book is called the Classroom Connect. You're going to see Classroom Connect by Okeyinfu Ajayi. Classroom Connect. Please click on this and make a purchase on this book. Of course, you can also follow Okeyinfu on social media. You search for Miss KK, or at Okeyinfu. You're going to see her profile. You give her a follow on Instagram and make sure that you follow up to learn from these people. All right, and you're going to do it not just for her, but for every other speaker that we're going to be having. Make sure that you get a hold of them, get a hold of everything that they get to offer, and follow them up. That is one way that you make sure that you are getting so much value from them as well. All right. So in ending, I want to thank you so much from my own end. Before I give it up to Mr. Tony, thank you so much for being here, and please stay tuned for the announcement to get a few very important announcements for the sessions tomorrow, because tomorrow is the final session. Tomorrow is the final day, and we have 2 sessions tomorrow, so you need to understand a few things that you have to do. Thank you so much, and God bless.